Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the fascinating science and theory of the forest that grows over a toxic graveyard. They say time heals all wounds, but deep beneath the surface of this serene, leafy forest lies a wound that never truly closed. A toxic scar buried under layers of earth and moss. It's a place where birds sing and deer graze, but few know what lies just beneath the roots. This is the story of a forest that grew over a toxic graveyard. Not all forests grow from the seeds of nature. Some emerge from secrets, from mistakes, from decisions made in boardrooms, far from the places they would ultimately ruin. Decades ago, long before this forest was dense with green life, it was a dumping ground, a convenient hiding place for the unwanted remains of human progress. Chemicals, waste, sludge, poison. Back in the 1950s and 60s, regulations were different, looser, or in some places, non-existent. Industrial growth was booming. Factories were churning out products faster than ever. But with production came waste, and with waste came a problem: where to put it all. Many corporations found their answer in the quiet corners of the countryside, out of sight, out of mind. In a remote area, now covered in a lush expanse of trees, a large pit was dug. Truck after truck rolled in under cover of darkness, unloading metal drums filled with hazardous chemicals. Some were flammable, some corrosive, some so toxic that mere exposure to air could trigger contamination. There were rumors of radioactive waste, too. Waste no one wanted to admit existed. It was never meant to be permanent. A temporary solution, they said, just until something better could be arranged. But that something better never came. The pit was covered. A layer of soil, then another. Grass began to grow. Decades passed, and with time, memories faded. People moved on. Buildings nearby were demolished. Nature, as it always does, crept back in. Eventually, trees took root. Saplings sprouted, and the forest began to grow. To the untrained eye, it was beautiful. Birds returned. Small animals carved paths through the underbrush. People began hiking through it, drawn to the quiet. Some even picnicked there, not knowing they were resting above barrels of industrial poison. But nature is not a magician. It cannot undo everything. Beneath the soil, the barrels began to decay. Rust set in. Seals broke. The toxins slowly leached into the groundwater, into the earth, into the roots of the very trees that now stood tall and proud. Strange things began to happen. Wildlife in the area showed unusual behaviors. Some animals were born deformed. Fish in nearby streams washed up dead after heavy rains. A few hikers complained of strange smells, burning in the eyes, headaches after visiting the forest. Still, no one connected the dots. Not until one spring, when a fire broke out. It wasn't large, but it burned hot and strange. The smoke had a chemical tinge. Firefighters reported odd colors in the flames: greens, purples, blues. Soil samples were taken afterward, and that was when the truth began to surface. The levels of toxicity were staggering. Soil and water samples contained high concentrations of dioxins, PCBs, heavy metals, things that shouldn't have been there. Things that couldn't occur naturally. An investigation was launched. Archival records unearthed maps and transport logs from decades past. It became clear that this wasn't just a forest, it was a cover-up. A toxic graveyard, buried and forgotten, now wearing a green disguise. Communities living near the area began to panic. Some demanded evacuations, others wanted answers. How long had they been drinking from contaminated wells? How many illnesses, undiagnosed cancers, respiratory issues, could be traced back to this silent threat? But the forest had no answers. It simply stood there, tall and quiet, growing over the past. Trees don't lie, but they also don't speak. And so, it became a battle of data, of testing, of reports. Some scientists believe the forest itself may have slowed the damage. Trees absorb some toxins, they argued. Nature, in its quiet resilience, may have acted as a buffer. But others warned that such logic was dangerously optimistic. That the forest didn't heal the wound. It only hid it. One of the most haunting discoveries came when researchers tested the trees themselves. The trunks, the leaves, the bark. Many showed signs of contamination. In some, the toxins had been absorbed and stored in the wood, which raised a terrifying question. What happens if this forest burns again? What kind of smoke would rise into the sky? Efforts were made to seal the graveyard, to remove some of the waste, but the cost was staggering. Some of the drums had ruptured, their contents mixed into the soil. Extraction wasn't simple. It wasn't just about digging. It was about unweaving a web of pollution, one that had been sinking deeper into the earth for decades. There was also another problem. Some of the chemicals had no clear disposal plan. They were banned, outlawed, so toxic they couldn't be moved without massive precautions. Moving them risked spreading the contamination further. Leaving them in place meant risking long-term environmental damage. So what do you do when the forest is both the victim and the accomplice? When the trees you admire are feeding off poison? When the ground beneath your feet is both alive and dangerous? Some governments choose to quarantine such areas, fence them off, post warnings. Others take more drastic measures, cutting down trees, removing soil by the ton, capping the ground with cement or clay. But no solution is perfect, and nature doesn't always cooperate. Today this forest remains standing. It breathes. It grows. It sways in the wind. And yet, it holds within it a secret that can never truly be erased. It is a place of contradiction. Beauty built on disaster. Growth rising from decay. A reminder that nature may reclaim, but it never forgets. For those who walk its paths today, the danger may not be visible. The sun still filters gently through the leaves. Birds still sing. But underfoot, the earth is laced with a toxic legacy, one that will take centuries to fully fade, if it ever does. The forest that grows over a toxic graveyard is not just a location. It's a metaphor, a warning, a symbol of how far humans will go to bury their mistakes, and how eventually, those mistakes find their way back to the surface. Not with explosions, not with loud alarms, but with quiet, persistent whispers. A smell in the air. A patch of sickened soil. A bird born with twisted wings. It's easy to see the forest and think of life, renewal, second chances. But look a little deeper, and you'll see something else. A mirror. Reflecting the choices we've made, the shortcuts we've taken, and the price we've forced the earth to pay. As you leave the edge of this forest, as the trees fade behind you, you might feel a sense of relief. But remember, there are more forests like this, more graveyards hidden beneath the green. And unless we learn from this one, we may keep planting seeds on poisoned soil. And in doing so, we may grow more than trees. We may grow in silence. We may grow in denial. We may grow forgetfulness. But nature, as always, remembers. And the forest never forgets. If you find this content valuable, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more mind-expanding educational content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.